I have in my hands right now proof that what's yours will never pass you by. This is the Notoria Tarot deck. It is an Angels deck based on King Solomon's grimoire, and it is just so beautiful. Look how awe-inspiring and elegant and magnificent the imagery is. I first heard about this deck during COVID. And as you know, COVID was crazy for all of us, but also when it comes to logistics. So things like shipping, packages getting lost, right? There were a lot of restrictions. So yeah, it was COVID at the time. And it was just impossible for me to participate in the Kickstarter edition of this deck. So it's a limited edition. Kickstarter means you have to fund it in order for you to acquire a copy of it. So me being from a different country, it was just impossible. My debit card wasn't going through. The payment transaction was crazy and there were a lot of difficulties. So even though I had so much love for this deck, I had no choice but to let it go. And it being a limited edition, that means I probably would have no chance of acquiring it later on because everyone would have had the available limited copies already, right? So it was very heartbreaking for me at the time during COVID, but I had no choice. I had to let it go. Many years later, I think late 2023 or early 2024 last year, I only just then found out that Notoria actually has an older brother, a twin deck called the Goetia. This one features the demons in Solomon's grimoire, and it's nothing to do with Satanism or anything like that. It's more like shadow work, so there's nothing harmful about it, nothing dark and evil about it. You know, it's all art and spirituality. And this deck was even harder to find than the Notoria because, well, it's older. It's like 5-6 years old. And it was also a Kickstarter limited edition. So all of the copies were gone. And this, as you can imagine, is in higher demand among tarot deck collectors, tarot readers than this one. Because I don't know what to say, demons are edgier, I suppose. So this remains to be this day more valued among the tarot community. But still, I tried my best to get it because it is also extremely beautifully designed. I was so attracted to it as well. Look at the effect on the cardstock. Very haunting images. It was even harder to find. I could only discover 3 resellers online. One of them was in Singapore who wanted to meet in person, which was crazy. Like, I'm not gonna fly to Singapore just for a deck, no matter how much I loved it, especially since I've already been in Singapore and it's not one of my top 10, not even top 15 countries that I've been to. The second one was in Argentina, but the website was not safe at all. It was a malicious site, so I did not proceed with the transaction. The third one was in the US, and I was willing to pay $800 for this deck. That was including shipping. However, since I was willing to pay so much, the seller changed his mind. He was like, oh my God, this deck is so valuable. After all, you know what? I'm gonna keep it in my collection. So the seller backed out on me. And in the end, I had no choice but to give up my search once again. And guys, you know how heartbreaking this is for me? The thing is, I am not a tarot deck collector. I do not buy decks just because they're trendy or just because they're fun or pretty. I have, I think, 90 decks in my collection, but it took me years and years to form that collection. And I only buy something when I'm totally in love with it, okay? Not because I just read about it, heard about it, or it's something that everyone's buying right now. I buy them only when they truly mean something to me. And some of them, many of them, were actually gifted to me. So they found their way to me, you know? So it's even more heartbreaking for someone like that who only desires decks like every few months or so. And I was totally in love with these two and I just couldn't find them. I messaged Los Carabeo, the publisher. I asked them if they had any extra copies, and they just replied with something that I already know. This was a limited edition Kickstarter deck from 4, 5, 6 years ago. We don't have any copies anymore. I even messaged the graphic designer. I think his name is Fabio Listrani. And he said that, no, I'm sorry, I only design. I'm glad you liked it, but I don't do distribution. Please message Los Carabeo, which I already did. So I knew that nothing was going to come out of that. But when you want something, you just try everything in your power, don't you? So that's what I did. And despite all of my efforts, it just wasn't happening. It wasn't coming through. So I thought it wasn't meant to be. You know what? I'm going to let it go, and let it go. I did. Then towards the end of last year, out of the blue, when I had forgotten about the pain and the agony of not owning these decks, out of the blue, I just saw a listing for this one on Amazon. And there are no special labels like limited edition, and the price wasn't exorbitant. It wasn't like 400, 300 pounds. It was the normal price that it would have been before, which is, I believe, 100 British pounds. And there was no sense of urgency, you know? There wasn't like a bidding or anything like that. And it was just right there in front of me. So I took it, and here it is right now in my collection, because if it's meant for you, it will find you. You know, you have to do everything you can, and failing that, you just have to wait for divine timing. And then this one is so much trickier because the ones that I missed, so I talked to you about the 3 resellers that I found, but I also found old postings of people bidding for it and fighting for it. The one that I found like a week after I got this, it was an email from eBay, a recommendation. You know how they recommend things to you? And it was a recommendation of this. And there was no bidding. There was no time limit. And the price, again, was just like 100 British pounds when I was willing to pay like 6 times that just a few months ago, right? So it was just there. There was no urgency. It was meant for me. So I purchased it. And here it is right now in my possession. Like, that is just so crazy to me, that that's how life and manifestation and fate and destiny works. When something is meant for you, it will always find you. So you should still always try your best. It comes with coins. You still should always try your best. But if life is just not budging, then maybe it's not the right timing. And this one comes with gold coins. Very, very pretty. So that is just something that I want to share. It doesn't matter if you're a tarot reader. It doesn't matter what kind of faith or religion or spirituality you have. This is true for all of us. What's meant for you will always find you. Do everything you can to chase your dreams, your wishes. Sometimes it's not just a deck. I could be talking about something else entirely, your big dreams in life. Do everything you can to get that job, that visa, to get into that university. And if it doesn't work out, trust that maybe there's something better for you, because what's meant for you will always find you. I hope this somehow helped. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you again soon. Take care.